Hi, welcome back to Burning River Bushcraft. Today we're going to be making an improvised candle out of a can of tuna. So this is another great urban skill. Now to do that you can't use just any can of tuna. This can of tuna is in oil. Similar can of tuna looks very close, but this one's in water. No good for fire. So we're going to have to get a can of tuna using oil. Could be vegetable oil, could be olive oil, it doesn't really matter for this. So to make this happen today, we have our can of tuna in oil. We're going to use a Bic lighter. Now I'm going to be using a Swiss Army knife for my cutting tool. We're not going to open the can right away. We're going to poke a hole in the can. If you had, a marginal pocket knife, you should look into using something else, maybe like a nail. In an urban setting, a nail like this is pretty darn easy to come by. It doesn't have to be a very big hole. Because the Swiss Army knife has a few different tools on it, I'm able to save the blade and use the awl to get the hole in. Now we're also going to need something for a wick. So to get maximum burn time, obviously you're going to only use one wick. I'm going to try to boil water with the amount of oil that's in this can today, so I want maximum heat regardless of life. I want to go with 3 wicks in here. We're also going to be using some of the contents of my water bottle kit. We're going to be using the cup, a little bit of water out of the bottle, and this cup has a stove stand. That's going to be critical to go over the tuna can because you're not going to be able to put a cup directly on the flames. It'll snuff it out. If you didn't have this, you'd have to improvise this with sticks or perhaps take some bricks, rocks, something to get the can up off of the flame itself. I'm going to be using the awl of a Swiss Army knife, and I'm going to try to go in a 1, 2, 3 pattern. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so we can see the oil starting to come out already. Now I elongated these holes a little bit because I know what I'm going to end up using for a wick. So on my smallest hole, I've cut a piece of jute line here. I'm going to use my awl to kind of poke it down in there best I can. So I just cut a quick piece off of the cotton rag here, and I'm going to pick one of the elongated holes a little bit wider, and same thing, I'm just going to poke it down in here. Now I've just got a scrap piece of denim here. Okay, with the scissors on the Swiss Army knife, I'm going to trim these wicks down. Get the water going here. And just because I've got some eggs here, because it's lunchtime, I'm going to boil some eggs in here. There we go. Alright, we're all set up. I've got the wicks in the tuna can. Boy, that cotton rag is really fighting me here. You can see the other 2 went up. The jean worked perfectly. It's fighting me. I'm just going to go with 2 wicks. And I'm going to stack cans. I want this a little bit higher. Is this going to work? Yep. So this is just improvising a little bit. I don't know why the 100% cotton bandana didn't go up as easy as it should have. You know, I was wasting oil, so I just went ahead and discarded it. So we're using blue jean, which lit up instantly, and then jute twine, which is something you should probably be carrying with you. You know, that went up pretty easy too. But, you know, as a fallback, the heavy denim seemed like it worked the best. I believe maybe the thin cotton rag got too saturated maybe early. I really don't know. I know that rag works great. I've used it for char cloth before, so it is 100% cotton. But we'll continue on with the test like it is. So I believe when I put the 100% cotton rag wick in, it probably got too saturated. You know, I stood it up and it obviously dried out, having those two flames going right beside it. This may not be enough BTUs to cook the, to boil the water. If you want to look at it from another aspect, you know, if this is going to simply use this as light for a candle lantern, similar to the Sharpie video that I did, you know, this is more light, not movable, but there's quite a bit of heat coming off here. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't boiled the water. Maybe that third wick will help. But, you know, in a spring, fall type setting where you're not really worried about anything too cold, you know, in a proper shelter, this would definitely help heat it up. And then again, in an urban situation where you're worried about your light signature, the stove you saw as soon as I put it down, that kind of capped off a lot of the reflection and glow from the light itself. So, you know, even if it doesn't boil the water, this the stove itself helps distort the light a little bit, and you still have the heat. If you need the light for doing a certain task or something for a small period of time, you can uncap it, take the stove off, get what you need done, put the stove back on, retain that little bit of heat, and then reduce your light signature. But we're going to keep at this water. We see if we can get it to boil. So I don't know how long it's taken to get it to this point so far. You can see it's got like a heavy simmer going on. I will look at the video while I'm editing it. I will put the time up on the screen right now, so you'll be able to see that. Definitely don't have that rolling boil yet, but if I keep this up long enough, you know, these eggs are going to be hard boiled enough to eat. So I do have a simmer. You know, we're definitely not on a rolling boil yet on the water. However, I just took the stove off to check this thing out, see how it's doing, and it does require some maintenance. You do have to pay attention to this. For some reason, my jute twine wick went out. I just had to relight that. The denim's dying on me here. The denim seems like it's spreading out, but I haven't touched it, haven't messed with it. I'm going to let that go till it dies out. Now the cotton strip that did not start originally, you know, I was into the burn quite a bit before I got that thing to go. That's doing the best. So just a real quick touch of a lighter and I was able to relight the jute twine. So I don't know why, I don't know for what reason, but anytime I have to fiddle with this, I'll let you guys know, just so we can, you know, eliminate different materials to use for an improvised wick. So I'm losing heat on the eggs, and I'm having some wick issues. Now I don't believe I'm running low on oil in the can. I believe, you know, it's like I said, it's strictly a wick issue. I'm able to relight. and then you know, it goes out pretty quick. Now, as far as the oil can as a stove or a candle itself, you know, I can smell that something's going on here, something's cooking, but it doesn't really smell like tuna like you think it would. I'm kind of surprised in that. You know, if I pulled up more wick, possibly that might rejuvenate this. Yeah, I bet that would work. So I pull up a little bit more wick, and I think I can get my burn back this way. But even if I don't, you know, this has been a triple wick. So I was filming, the camera died. I marked the time when the camera died, and that's been just an hour ago. So when I edit the video, I'll see how long a play time I had, you know, plus an hour. And that'll give us approximately when we were no longer cooking. And I have had to screw with the wicks just a little bit. But not a whole lot. So if you were looking strictly as light for this, you know, you would take the time I've got, you know, divide it by 3, and that would give you a pretty good ballpark guess. So you're looking at, you know, maybe 3 to 5 hours, I would say, on a single wick tuna can, using it just for light when you're not really worried about burning as much as you can to get more heat out of it. You know, maybe I can do that in another video, or just do it on my own and just post the results. The egg water is simmering right now. I'm going to leave the lid on it, let it cook with as much heat as I can, and I'll turn the camera back on and show you. I'm pretty sure that's going to be an edible egg right now. You know, eggs aren't something that's going to be real super common to find. You know, wild bird's nests are always going to be an option seasonally, but you know, pasta, beans, anything that's dried that you might locate in an urban setting would be pretty easily cooked, or at least make it edible with this amount of simmer time just off the tuna. And then that tuna you could combine with the you know, the eggs or the pasta or whatever, and make some kind of usable meal, you know, with protein and carbs, and it's definitely gonna be warm. All right, so we'll try these eggs out here. And we are not completely hard boiled. I don't know if that would be considered like a 3-minute egg. So using a can of tuna in oil as a stove, it did work. It did not work well enough to hard boil eggs. I really just never quite got it up to that rolling boil. I just was at a constant simmer. But with 3 wicks in it, like I said, I'll check the exact time. I know it's been an hour that the camera died, so it'd be an hour plus my film time. I'll put that at the bottom of the screen when I do the editing. But as a candle, it worked great. With you running a wick as opposed to 3, you know, you'd have an all-day burn with this, no doubt about it. I still had plenty of reserve liquid. You might have to screw with the wick a little bit. You know, that's one thing I was encountering. But, you know, for an improvised stove or candle, you know, what more could you ask for? Alright, so this has just been another tool for your urban survival toolkit. This has been Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you next time.